Literature Festival Time of the Writer returns once again this month, where it will include over 30 sessions and 100 writers. The University of KwaZulu-Natal Centre for Creative Arts will present its 24th edition that will be hosted virtually on the festival's social media pages or channels. The program will be comprised of mostly women writers, thought leaders and activists. This edition is determined to ensure that women's voices are amplified and allow them to reclaim their spaces and to advance the values of our democracy. Time of the Writer will also introduce an enterprising series on how theatre makers are drawing inspiration from novels. The theme for this year's festival is The Writer, Witness, the Canary in the Mine or Testifier. But to break down this theme and more, we are joined via Zoom by Dr Ismail Mahomed, the Director of the Centre for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Dr Mahomed, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us and a warm welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to viewers.
It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure, Dr Mahomed. Now, Time of the Writer is one of the biggest literature festivals in the country. Take us through how it has grown over the years since inception.
The Time of the Writer Festival is one of 4 festivals that's presented by the Centre for Creative Arts at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. It's located within the School of Arts and the College of Humanities. The other festivals is the Jumba Contemporary Dance Festival, the Durban International Festival, and the Poetry Africa Festival. Although it's an arts-related festival, it is also related to the kind of teaching learning program of the university, the kind of academic engagement with the arts and the community and the sector. And over the last 24 years, the festival has grown significantly, not just to become the largest arts or literary festival in South Africa, but probably the largest literary festival on the African continent.
I'm quite fascinated by the theme, The Writer, Witness, the Canary in Mine or Testifier. Take us through this theme and how is it so relevant?
Well, this year's festival also coincides with the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the South African Constitution. The Centre for the Creative Arts is also 25 years old this year. And we thought it would be appropriate to begin to have a festival that reflects on the journey that we've taken as South Africans. And we do know that writers, amongst all our other artists, have also been very instrumental in shaping our democracy through their writing, either by reflecting on it, critiquing it, but also envisioning it. And we decided that an appropriate theme, particularly this year, and in the midst while we sit with the Zondo Commission, is to begin to look at the role that writers have played in our society in those 3 capacities, as witnesses, as canary in the mine, or as testifiers.
I mean, in addition to the celebration and the commemoration of the adoption of the country's constitution, as you've just reminded us, this year's festival has been extended to an additional day to mark the UN International Day of Poetry and South African Human Rights Day. So how will this be incorporated into the festival?
Sure. Our festival would normally have ended on the 20th, but we decided to take advantage of extending the festival for an additional day. Poets themselves are incredibly important writers. And we've seen with the US presidential inauguration how Amanda Gorman took the world by storm with her poetry. And we decided long before that to simply add an additional day to commemorate the Human Rights Day in South Africa, and to also at the same time join the rest of the global community as we amplify the voices of poets, but to use it this time specifically for human rights. We believe very strongly that poets in our country have been at the center of our democracy. Long before 1994, and even remain now. We've just seen recently how Lebo Mashile amplified her voice in a memorial to Karima Brown, the journalist. This year, our Poetry Africa Festival in October will be celebrating its 25th anniversary as well. And we decided that extending the day to the 21st will be a wonderful way to just tease in the enormous celebration that we plan to have later this year by presenting a festival of poetry, which is going to be the largest on the African continent. Of course, none of this can happen without the support that we get from our various sponsors, the US Embassy, the French Institute of South Africa, the Foundation for Human Rights, which has come on board now to support the poetry event that we have on the International Poetry Day, the Stand Foundation, the Amazwi Museum in the Eastern Cape has come on board, and of course the Imbiza Journal for African Writing. We have wonderful partners with Hear My Voice, which is one of the most dynamic youth poetry formations in South Africa. And we believe that being able to partner with structures like that, we'll be able to reach the kind of young voices that we want to engage with.
Okay. Do you want to take us through the Enterprising series and what that entails?
Sure. This year's festival is centered around 5 meal times. We start off in the morning at 11 o'clock every day with a brunch conversation, which is rather light-hearted, the kind of practicing, like we and I are chatting right now, but very informative. At 1 o'clock, we have a training event for those who want to enter the publishing industry. At 3 o'clock, we're going to kind of tea time mode and going to a little more informative, relaxed conversations. We have dramatized readings of novels in that particular time. At 5 in the evening, we're going to a cocktail hour where we will bring writers together with other professionals to begin to engage with issues such as how has COVID-19 impacted on writing at the moment and so forth. And then at 7 o'clock, we engage with really kind of tough questions that South Africans have at our dinner tables. Questions of migration, questions of colonialism, gender violence, sexuality. All these tough questions are engaged with in our 7 o'clock sessions, where we'll bring some of the writers with some of our best minds together to lead us in those conversations. So in some ways, we're deviating from what has been a traditional literary festival where a writer comes, they speak about their work, they launch their book, and they leave. But this time around, we bring writers into dialogue with each other and with our audiences. All our platforms will be online and they're all accessible free, again, through a wonderful partnership that we have with iSupport as our supporting partner on this particular program.
Okay. Now, Dr. Mahomed, Time of the Writer features a diverse gathering of leading novelists, social commentators, activists, playwrights. Do you want to take us through who will be a part of this year's edition?
Well, Zikiso Wana is the keynote speaker who's going to deliver a wonderful address at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Fred Kumalo has been nominated this year as the featured author. A young man, Tokozo Ndlovu, is our literary champion. Then, of course, we have Zubaida Jaffer, whose work on Charlotte Makeke is an incredibly important work. And given the centenary of the celebration, she's going to be on there again. Marianne Tem is leading a wonderful panel with Brent Meansman, Mandy Wiener, Ethel Williams, and Emmanuel Taban on the central theme of our festival, which is the whistleblower, the testifier, and the witness. Amongst the others is Ashraf Johadi, who's leading a wonderful panel engaging with issues around sexuality. Pindile Dlamini has put together an incredibly beautiful program curated around the isiZulu language. Sipindele Hlongwa has coordinated a poetry session, which would be featuring poets from across different parts of the continent. The entire program with all names of all 100 people that are featured in our program is available on our website and also on our social media pages, and all of them are at Time of the Writer.
All right, I'm certainly looking forward to this particular festival, Dr. Mahomed, especially looking at the wealth of knowledge that will be shared at this festival. We do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, that was Dr. Ismail Mahomed talking to us about this year's edition of the Time of the Writer.